we could have a very interesting scenario brewing in college athletics. And all of this noise surrounding the ACC could be something even different than what we originally thought. It could be even bigger than that. Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, because we're going to talk about it right after this word from our sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another edition of Kuz's Corner, where I pour you out a shot of top shelf college football content. So belly yourself up to the bar and let's get rolling on this video today, because today on tap, I've got a very interesting subject to talk about. And I want to start out by telling you about a message I got, a DM I got from someone who had watched some of my conference realignment videos. I received this DM in the summer of 2022. So it was over a year ago now. I didn't run with it because I didn't have enough details and I didn't know enough about it to really run with it. And I didn't want to, I didn't want to start rumors or, put stuff out that didn't make any sense. But what the guy told me, I felt like it was credible because of his background. And I felt like that maybe he was onto something, but yet again, there was not enough information to run with it. And what that was about the potential start of a Power 5 Ivy League type conference where you get a bunch of the top academic conferences, Power 5 academic conferences, together in one league. And not only be high rated academic institutions, but also be solid at sports at the same time. And I'm not going to share this gentleman's name because I'm not sure if he wants me to or not. So out of respect for him, because I don't have his permission to, I'm not. But he's someone who has worked in media and claims to have sources all around, in various cities across the country. And like I said, I hadn't touched this subject until now. And the reason I'm doing it now is because of a tweet that my good friend of the show, Jim Williams. Most of you know Jim Williams. He's worked at ESPN. He's worked at multiple networks, has a lot of connections in the industry. He has his own podcast called Stream On with Jim Williams. He talks about sports betting. He talks about, sports media, a lot of that stuff. I think he does 2 shows a day. Go check his show out. I'll link to it in the description. But Jim's always tweeting out interesting stuff regarding conferences, sports media, and those types of things. Well, today he put out this tweet that I'm going to share with you right here on the screen. And it says, look for the ACC to look into becoming the Ivy League of college sports. Now, what Jim is referring to, and he clarified this in a later post, we already know there's an Ivy League that plays sports, but what he's referring to is a Power 5 conference, or a power conference now, that has a lot of your higher rated academic schools in the same league. It's a conference that wants to put academics first while also being really good at sports. Okay. I know the Big 10 has a lot of good academic institutions too. The Big 12 even has a few. And the SEC has a few. But this would be one conference where almost every member in the league, if not every member in the league, is highly rated academically and meets a certain threshold. And he's saying that the ACC is going to be that conference. And look at the schools he's listed. A lot of them are already in the conference. Some are not. But you look at Boston College, Cal, who just announced they were going to be joining the league, Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, NC State, Pitt, Stanford, also just joining, Syracuse, South Florida. There's a new one. We'll come back to that in a minute. Syracuse again now. He put Syracuse on here twice by mistake. I haven't gotten a chance to speak with Jim to see what other school he was referring to there, but that is obviously a typo. SMU, UConn, Virginia, and then an asterisk beside Notre Dame, because we know Notre Dame's wish is to stay independent in football, but yet be in the ACC in other leagues, or at least in another conference. Right now, they're in the ACC in other sports. The reason I find this interesting, multiple reasons really, but the number one reason, Notre Dame was a big voice that helped get Stanford and Cal into the ACC, and obviously SMU was part of that as well, because they can be kind of a quote-unquote stopover in the middle of the country for a lot of these Olympic sports. And they also have a pretty high academic standards as well. But Notre Dame has been a catalyst of this. And the person who sent me this DM back in the summer of 22 told me that Notre Dame would be on board with doing this. I was told this over a year ago. And now today, October 10th, 2023, Jim Williams tweets out about the ACC looking to become basically an academic Power 5 conference, an academic power conference, because these schools also have pretty good athletic programs, at least most of them do, especially when you look at basketball with Duke. Now, who are some schools missing from this list? Obviously, Florida State's missing. Doesn't mean they're not a good academic institution. But I think what Jim's trying to say is, hey, Florida State's not going to be in the ACC that much longer. They're out. Guess who else you don't see? You don't see the University of North Carolina, because they're probably going to be out. You don't see Clemson, because they're probably out. Guess who else you don't see? You don't see Virginia Tech. You don't see Louisville. Does that mean they could be going to the Big 12? Does it mean they end up in the SEC? Who knows? But all we know is that UNC, Clemson, Florida State, Virginia Tech, and Louisville are not on Jim's list. Now, Jim is not guaranteeing this to happen. He's just saying be on the lookout for it, because he thinks this could potentially be coming down the road. Now, let's go on and read the rest of Jim's tweet. It says, this version, best case scenario, of the ACC would be able to survive as power conference, and because of the amount of money they would have access to and ability to marshal NIL as a group is very impressive. They would be a very powerful academic conference with access to research money. So these are schools who spend a lot of money on research, have a lot of big money donors who can put a lot of money into these programs, at least in the case of most of them. And they all meet a certain academic threshold. Most of them, if not all of them, would be AAU institutions. That's another key here. So this would be a Ivy League-like power conference that I was told about over a year ago. So I find that very, very interesting that this stuff's starting to tie together now. And it's a lot of the things that have happened so far in conference realignment seem to be leading to this, or at least it could be. Now, Jim put out some other interesting tweets as well that I want to share with you. Now, when you look here, some other tweets from Jim, he says, in a quote tweet to someone else, he says, FSU is leaving the ACC, and USF, which would be South Florida, a better academic school, will take their place. Now, USF has already received AAU status. They received it earlier this year. FSU has yet to do that. Not saying they won't, but they have yet to do so. And he goes on to say, USF joins University of Florida as the only Florida public universities that are members of the AAU, as I just mentioned. So he thinks USF ends up in the ACC. Someone else asked, are you saying these would be additions to existing ACC or replacements for losses to other leagues? And he's saying replacements. Someone else says, what happens to Louisville? They don't really fit this academic plan. Would the ACC encourage them to go to the Big 12? Here's Jim's response. Matt, let me be clear. The ACC is not wanting to lose anyone. Louisville would not ever be pushed out, but they have wanted to explore the Big 12. Bring them on, please. Please bring Louisville to the Big 12. I'd love to have them. Them and West Virginia could renew a rivalry. They could renew their rivalry with Cincinnati. Both of those could be conference games. Gives you another team in the eastern part of the United States. I love this. Man, I hope this is true. Bring them on. Someone else said, where did Virginia Tech go? Here's Jim's response. They could choose to stay, but may lean Big 12. We will see. Again, bring them on. Would love to have the Virginia Tech Hokies in the Big 12. Now, as you saw on Jim's list earlier, he did have Pitt as part of that academic power conference because they're an AAU school. So they might actually get to stay in this league if it forms, if they choose to do so. When you go back to the previous tweet I mentioned in the list of schools, you don't see Tulane on there, but you do see South Florida. You see UConn on there as the two group of five schools. Now, what I noticed is Yes, he did have Syracuse on there twice. I'm assuming he probably meant to put Wake Forest in one of those spots because Wake Forest is also a really prestigious academic school. So the list, I'm assuming, would look like this: Boston College, Cal, Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, NC State, Pitt, Stanford, Syracuse, South Florida, Wake Forest, SMU, UConn, Virginia, and Notre Dame. I think that's the list. But now we've heard that Virginia is a target for the Big Ten as well, or maybe even the ACC. I mean, the SEC. So could Virginia stay? Would they go to the SEC or the Big Ten? It's all yet to be determined. But I thought this was very, very interesting and kind of starts tying some things together, folks. But if this happens, it could open the door for Louisville to be like, you know what? I don't want to be in a conference with all these schools who are putting academics way, way up here and football way down here. Yes, we want academics to be up here, but we want football to be more important. So maybe Louisville decides, hey, we fit better in the Big 12. So let's go over here and talk to Brett Yormark in the Big 12. And maybe Virginia Tech does the same thing. Maybe Virginia Tech's like, you know what? Yes, we're a good academic school. We're really close to getting AAU status ourselves. But, man, we want to put a big emphasis on football here because we're Virginia Tech. We used to play beamer ball here, man. We want to be in a school that really, really prioritizes football. Let's go over here and talk to the Big 12. I think it makes sense. Why not? I was actually surprised to see NC State on Jim's list. Not that they're not a good academic school, but I just for whatever reason, when I look at NC State, I see a Big 12 school. I don't know why. I feel like they'd be a fit. But hey, they are a good academic institution. It's my understanding they do a lot of research at NC State, so they would probably be a fit for this league. But at the end of the day, folks, we could end up. Now, this is, Jim's not guaranteeing this. He's not predicting this to happen. He's just saying, hey, let's keep an eye out for this scenario because it could be playing out. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, Couz's Corner family. How do you think this plays out? Do you think we do end up with an ACC that's basically like an Ivy League power conference? Because if we do, man, that could really open the door for the Big 12 to grab a couple of these ACC schools that don't end up in the Big 10 or the SEC. I want to hear your thoughts on it. Guys, if you want to support the channel, you can do it for free. First of all, all you have to do is hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. Share it with your family and friends. Leave that comment below that I mentioned. Let me know what you think about this scenario and do you think it will play out? And you can subscribe to the channel here. Hit that black, white, red, whatever color it is, the subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified of future uploads and future live streams I may do. Also, guys, if you really like what I'm doing here and want to show your support for me, you can join the folks on this screen below, the VIP members at Couz's Corner. Earlier in the show, you saw the pub level. Those are $2.99 a month. Comes with perks like recognitions, early access to videos, and occasional contests. The club level, which is on your screen now, has some extra perks. You get access to a private Discord server. You get special videos with limited ads, and you get multiple entries into contests, things like that, and you get some merch discounts, which leads into another way you can support me. Go check out my merch store. I've got shirts, ball caps, hoodies, coffee mugs, all kinds of different products over there you can get from my merch store and several different designs to choose from. So go check that out. There's a link in the description box, and there are also photos below the description box. All you have to do is click one of those photos. It'll take you right into my store. What I want to do right now is recognize a couple of my new VIP members here at Couz's Corner, and they are Hellbilly, Tack Sprint, Shannon Miller, and Beers Sports Lounge. I want to thank you all for becoming channel members, VIP members here at Couz's Corner. Hopefully you enjoy the perks that come with that. And like I said, if any of the rest of you want to join this, all you have to do is hit that join button right below or go check out the link in the description box. With that being said, guys, I really appreciate your support. I appreciate you tuning into this episode of Couz's Corner. And until the next one, Q Country Roads.